Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Erica. We are on block number 10 of our Sew With Me series. So block number 10 is one of my favorites. This is the traditional maple leaf block, and you've probably seen this block around all over the place if you've done any amount of quilting. Now, most of the time you'll see this block as all one color, so the leaf's all one color and then the stem might be something different. Since all of my other blocks are scrappy, I thought it would be fun to make this one scrappy as well. And so we've already covered 4 at a time half square triangles, 8 at a time half square triangles. Today we're going to be making 1 at a time half square triangles, and that is so that we can get this fun scrappy look on our maple leaf block. Now before we start today's video, I want to show you a couple different samples of maple leaf quilts that I've made so you can kind of see what they can look like and all the different ways you can put them together. So this first quilt that I'm showing is a maple leaf block quilt. You can see each of the leaves are one color, but then each leaf is a different color. So I've mixed together the 12-inch and 6-inch blocks, and you can turn them in different directions. You can do all kind of fun things to just give it a really fun scrappy layout, even though each of the leaves are individual colors. I also use this block on my farmhouse fall quilt, as you can see here, and I've just done, again, the same thing. I've done each leaf its individual color, so I did those 4 at a time half square triangles for those leaf tips. You can make it into a pillow, a table runner, or of course, the farmhouse fall quilt. And then because I love this block so much, I also added a row of leaves as kind of a sashing strip on my vintage fall quilt underneath those truck rows. And I think it just turned out so cute. So each leaf again is a different color, and I have the top row going one way and the bottom row going another way. So those are just a couple different ways that you can kind of see these leaf blocks put together. They're so fast and easy. So let's go ahead and dive right in, and I'll show you how to make the maple leaf block. So as usual, make sure you download your PDF below. Now the PDF is going to have instructions to make the block all one color. And here you're going to be making 4 at a time half square triangles, but I've also included alternate instructions in case you want to do them 1 at a time to make your block scrappy, and then you'll just be cutting different color fabric instead of all one. And here is what my little scrappy mini block looks like. And since my entire quilt is scrappy, I'm going to go ahead and make a scrappy version. We're also going to be making 1 at a time half square triangles since we haven't done that before, so I can kind of show you how, but feel free to use that 4 at a time method if you want to just make your block all one color. All right, so you are going to need 8 different colors or variations of colors. You're going to need some background fabric, and there are 5 squares of this larger size and then 2 of a smaller size. So make sure that you're keeping these straight. These 2 are actually going to be for the stem unit, so we're going to go ahead and work with those first so we don't get them mixed up with our others. So I'm going to go ahead and set these aside, and I'm just going to pick the one that I know I want to be my stem color, which is that green, and we're going to do that one first. Now you can draw a diagonal line on the wrong side of your fabric if you want. I'm going to use my diagonal seam tape, but we're going to take one of our C squares and we're going to place it on top right side down, and we're going to sew diagonally corner to corner. And like I said, you can draw a line on here if you like. I actually just use that diagonal seam tape that I have on my sewing machine, and you'll see that as well. So let's go ahead and take this over to our sewing machine, and I'm just going to line up that corner with my needle right here, and then I'm lining up this line with the red center line on my diagonal seam tape. And I just sew just a hair to the outside edge of my drawn line so that when I press this back, it's a little bit more accurate, because that fabric does take up just a little bit of space. And then now we can just set that, and I'm not even going to trim it yet. I'm just going to press this one back. And I do have a new mat today. I'm trying out this wool mat, so I'll let you know how I like it. All right, now we're going to take our other C square. We're going to do the same thing, sewing corner to corner. Again, I'm lining up my corner. And voila. All right, and then now we can go ahead and trim these off. So we're going to trim 1/4 of an inch away from our stitch line. And this does create a little bit of waste, this method. If you want, you can actually run another stitch line a 1/2 inch away from your original stitch line, so just right there. And then when you cut these in half, you'll have kind of a pre-made half square triangle for another project. For this video purpose, I'm just going to set it aside. Now when you're cutting this second side, just make sure you don't accidentally trim over your first one. Okay, and then here we go. Now we just need to trim this up, and for our 12.5 inch block, this is going to be 4.5 inches. I'm going to press this out just a little bit because I didn't quite get my full seam there. And I'm going to leave that on there, and then while that's cooling, we can work on our other pieces. Now for this portion, I like to go ahead and lay these out so that I know what colors I want where. So before I work on my little leaf tips, I'm going to do this. Now I know I have a green stem here. I don't want my pinks together. Don't want my greens together. So I think this layout looks nice. I've got my aquas separated, my pinks separated, and then my greens are kind of separated. Okay, so now I'm going to make half square triangles out of all of these. Now again, if you want, you can, I'm going to set these aside just over here so I know what order they go in. And then we're going to take all of these little leaf points and we're going to place one of our B blocks right side down. And again, we're going to sew from corner to corner, trim 1/4 of an inch away from our stitch line and press. And like I said, if you want, when you sew corner to corner, you can make another line. I'll show you here. When you're marking these, we're going to sew right here, corner to corner. You can make another line that's a 1/2 inch away from that line and sew on that line as well. And then when you cut these in half, you'll just have a smaller half square triangle on this extra side, so it's not as much waste. I'm not going to do that just to save time on this video, but I just want you to know that it is an option. So I'm going to go ahead and take all of these over to my sewing machine, and I'm just going to go ahead and sew them all at once. Again, just lining up my line. And then we'll have one left over for our corner up there. And now we can just cut all these apart. I'm going to move these back over here. Now when I'm doing these, I'm going to press towards the darker fabric. So I'm going to put my darker fabric facing up, and then I can just press back towards that darker fabric. And now we just need to trim them all up. And just to save time, I will open them all up, and I'm actually going to trim them at the same time. So if you're a little bit worried about this, you don't have to. I usually only trim 2 together because that's 4 layers of fabric. All right, and then we just need to trim all these up to 4.5 inches square, and they should be really, really close. That one's good. I just double check them all, but when you start out with the exact size you need on these half square triangles, they should come out pretty perfect. I still check just to make sure. Okay, now we're going to lay our block back out the way that we had it. And these are upside down, so I'm going to turn that. We're going to put our extra A square in the corner there. And I believe my green was there and my blue was here. Now, you're going to lay it out just like this, and I am going to chain piece this together. Now, the only thing that you want to be careful about with this block is that you don't accidentally turn one of these star tips. I have done that a million times, but I did want to show you that you can actually turn these outer ones so they're going like this, and it makes it like a new block. So it's just more of like kind of a funky leaf than your kind of traditional maple leaf. I'm gonna go ahead and just do it the way the pattern shows. So all of these are gonna be facing the same way. So now I'm gonna chain piece. That means I'm gonna take this row, put it right side down on top of this row, and just sew the whole thing down without breaking in between. And then I'll come back and add this third row. So I'll just go ahead and do this. And when I do this, a lot of times I'll pin, and I think I've said this in other videos, but the pinning just helps me know which side I'm gonna sew on when I get over to my machine, so I don't get that point turned. Or if you have a directional fabric as well. Okay, so now I'm gonna take these all to the machine. And I'm not going to bother pressing them yet. I'm just going to open this up and add these on. Is our block, making sure everything's still going the same way so I didn't turn anything the wrong direction. And then I'm going to flip it right side down. And for this block, you can press it open if you want. My tip for pressing open is to change your stitch length to 1.5. I usually sew at about a 2.0 stitch length. And so if you're going to press open, it does weaken your seams. So I would just go with a smaller stitch length. So just looking at this top row, it looks to me like it kind of wants to naturally go that way. So I'm going to press this middle row to the right, that one to the left, and this one to the left. And I kind of just read my fabric like that, just because I think it makes it easier. If it wants to go one way, let's let it. And this one works out because we're going towards no seams. If you have a hard time pressing your blocks in opposite directions with them still connected, you can just snip those little threads. All right, and then now we just need to sew our rows together. As you can see, this block is so easy, and we're just going to nest our seams right here. You've seen me do it probably a million times. I'll show you one more. So here you can see this bottom seam is going to the right, the top seam is going to the left. That means they're going to nest together, and we're going to get a perfect point right there. Now, because if I were to try and pull this up, it would be getting in the way, I'm just going to do one at a time. All right, and here's our block. We just need to press it. And I'm just going to press it going down. Again, you can press this open if you like. Again, we're going to trim this up to 12.5, and I'm going to make sure that all of these points are about 1/4 of an inch away from my trim line. This block is really good, so I don't even probably really need to trim it. Yeah, I don't think I'm cutting anything off. Yeah. So here is our finished scrappy maple leaf block. This is one of my favorite blocks. It's so much fun. It's also super versatile, and I think an entire quilt of the large and small mixed together would be so cute. All right, guys, that is it for our scrappy maple leaf block. As you can see, it was a lot of fun, and putting it together was so fast and easy, even though we did those one at a time half square triangles for our scrappy block. So this is going to be it for block number 10. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, as always, please thumbs up and subscribe. You can also hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming fun. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you next time. Just filmed that whole intro with no sound. And then now we just, oh, dog. We got a package. Ooh, there went one of my tailor clappers. And mine is super close because I was wonky. I also need to repress that.